फिर बजेगा नहीं तो।
Connected to OnePlus 3G.
Evening chanting, page 14. योऽसो भगवा अरहं सम्मा सम्बुद्धो स्वाक्षातो येन भगवता धम्मो सुपटिपन्नो यस्य भगवतो सावकसङ्घो तमयं भगवन्तं सधम्मं ससङ्गम् इमे सत्कारे यथार्हम् आरोपिते अभिपूजयामा साधुनो भन्ति भगवा शुचिर हरिनिभूतोऽपि पश्चिमा जनता नुकम्पमानसा इमे सत्कारि दुर्गतपणाका प्रभूते पटिगणातु अम्हाकं दीघरतं हिताय सुखाय अरहं सम्मा सम्बुद्धो भगवा बुद्धं भगवन्तम् अभिवादिमि स्वाक्षातो भगवता धम्मो धम्मं नमस्सामि सुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावकसङ्घो सङ्घं नमामि हन्दमयं बुद्धस्य भगवतो उभभाग नमकारं करोमसे नमो तस् भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्य नमो तस् भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्य नमो तस् भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्य हन्दमयं बुद्धानुसतिनयं करोमसे तं कोपन भगवन्तं एवं कल्याणो इति सद्दो अभुगतो इति पिसो भगवा अरहं सम्मा सम्बुद्धो विद्याचरण संपन्नो सुगतो लोकविदु अनुत्तरो पुरुषधम्मसारथि सत्ता देवमनुस्सान बुद्धो भगवाति हन्दमयं बुद्धाभिगीतिं करोमसे बुद्धवारहन्तवरता द्विगुणाभियुतो शुद्धाभियान करुणा हि समागततो बोधेसि योऽसु जनतं कमलं वसुरो वन्दामहं तमरणं शिरसा जिनेन्दम् बुद्धो यो सर्वपाणिनं शरणं खेममुत्तमम् पठमानुसतिष्ठानं वन्दामि तं शिरेणहम् बुद्धः सास्मि दासी वा बुद्धो मे सामिकीश्वरो बुद्धस्सहं नियादेमि शरीरं जीवितं चिदं वन्दन्तीहं चरिष्या धम्मस्यैव सुबोधितं नत्ति मे शरणम् अन्यत् बुद्धो मे शरणं वरम् एतेन सच्चवज्जेन वड्डेयं सत्तु शासने बुद्धं मे वन्दमानाय यं पुण्यं प्रसुतं इदा सभ्येऽपि अन्तराया मे माहेषु कस्य तेजसा हन्दमयं धम्मानुसतिनयं करोमसि स्वाखातो भगवता धम्मो सन्दिष्टिको अकालिको एहि पस्सिको ओपनयिको पश्चत्तं वेदितव्यो विन्योहीति हन्दमयं धम्माभिगीतिं करोमसि स्वाखाततादिगुणयोगवसेनसेयो यो मग्गपाकपर्यतिविमोक्षभेदो धम्मो कुलोकपतना तदधारि धारी वन्दामहं तमरं वरधम्ममेतं धम्मो यो सर्वपाणिनं शरणं खेममुत्तमम् द्वितीयानुसतिष्ठानं वन्दामि तं शिरेणहम् धम्मस्सास्मि दासीव धम्मो मे सामिकीश्वरो धम्मस्सहं नियादेमि शरीरं जीवितं चिदं वन्दन्तीहं चरिष्यामि धम्मस्यैव सुधम्मतं नत्ति मे शरणम् अन्यत् धम्मो मे शरणं वरम् एतेन सज्जवज्जेन वड्डेयं सत्तु शासने धम्मं मे वन्दमानाय यं पुण्यं प्रसुतं इदा सभ्येऽपि अन्तरायामि माहेषु तस्य तेजसा हन्दमयं सङ्घानुसतिनयं करोमसि सुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावकसङ्घो उजुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावकसङ्घो न्यायपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावकसङ्घो सामीचिपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावकसङ्घो यदिदं चत्तारि पुरुषयुगानि अट्ठपुरुष पुग्गला ईश भगवतो सावक संगो आहुनेयो पाहुनेयो दक्षिणेयो अंजलि करणीयो अनुत्तरं पुण्यखेतं लोकसाति हन्दमयं संगाभिगीतिं करोमसि सधम्मजो सुपटिपतिगुणादियुतो यो अट्ठविदो अरियपुगलसङ्गसेठो शीलादिधम्मपवरा सयकाय चेत्तो वन्दामहं तमरि मनगणं सुशुद्धं संगो यो सर्वपाणिनं शरणं खेममुत्तमं ततीयानुसतिष्ठानं वन्दामि तं शिरेणहम् संघस्सास्मि दासीव संगो मे निकिस्सरो संघासहं नियादेमि शरीरं जीवितं चिदं वन्दन्तीहं चरिष्यामि संघस्सोपटिपन्नतं नत्ति मे शरणम् अन्यत् संगो मे शरणं वरम् एतेन सत्यवज्रेण वड्डेयं सत्तु शासने संघं मे वन्दमानाय यं पुण्यं प्रसूतम् इद सभ्येऽपि अन्तरायामि मायेषुं तत्सतेजसा
अब हम धम्म गौरव गाथा पढ़ेंगे।
पेज 54 धम्म गौरव गाथा हिंदी चैंटिंग बुक। हंदमयम धम्मम गारव आदि गाथायु भड़ामसे। आए हम धम्म की गौरव की आदि गाथा का पाठ करें। ये च अतीता संबुद्धा ये च बुद्धा अनागता यो च इतरहि संबुद्धो बहुन्नं शोकनाशनो। जो भी अतीत में संबुद्ध हुए और जो भविष्य में होंगे, जो भी इस समय संबुद्ध हैं, सभी शोक नाशक हैं। सब्बे सधम्म गरुणो विहरन्सु विहरन्ति च अथोपि विहरसन्ति एषा बुद्धान धम्मता। वे सभी सधम्म को गौरव देते हैं जो भूतकाल में थे अथवा वर्तमान में हैं या भविष्य में होंगे। यह बुद्धों का स्वभाव है। तस्माहि अत्तकामेन महतम अभिकंखता सद्धम्मो गरुकातब्बो सरम बुद्धान शासनम। इसलिए अपनी कामनाओं, महान आकांक्षाओं की पूर्ति के लिए बुद्धों की शिक्षा को याद कर सधर्म का गौरव करना चाहिए। नहि धम्मो अधम्मो च उभो समविपाकिनो अधम्मो निरयं नेति धम्मो पापेति सुगतिम। धर्म और अधर्म का एक जैसा फल नहीं होता। अधर्म निरय लोक की ओर ले जाता है और धर्म सद्गति की ओर। धम्मो हवे रक्षति धम्मचारिं, धम्मो सुचिन्नो सुखम आवहाति। ऐसा निसंसो धम्मे सुचिन्ने। धर्म धर्मचारियों की रक्षा करता है, धर्म पालन सुख देता है। यह धर्म पालन का आशीर्वाद है।
Now we'll listen to discourse by Ajahn Amaro on mindfulness of emotions and thoughts and their unlocatedness.
Speaking yesterday evening about feeling, and this morning speaking about the quality of spaciousness in the mind, and particularly using the inner sound, the nada sound, as a way of establishing that. And I thought to follow along a bit from both of those themes. As we find ourselves more able to establish that quality of inner spaciousness, learning to attend to the present, and using the listening to the inner sound, the nada sound, as a way of sustaining more of a mental space, more of an open inclusivity in our mental world. Then this can help a lot to develop a quality of mindfulness in the emotional realm. When we are watching our minds, and as we have been doing very closely for the last number of days, where we know this is, I think, Wednesday now, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So 5 or 6 days we've been together here, watching our minds in action. You'll probably have noticed how when there's an emotional charge to a particular moment, some sense impression or a memory or an idea, a mental image, if there's an emotional charge, then the mind gets swept away far more easily. It gets drawn in and carried away. So it's very helpful for us to learn how to apply the practice to cultivating a mindfulness of emotion, understanding how that works and working with that. It's important to recognize we're not trying to stifle emotions or to try and to steer our lives towards where we are not feeling any emotion. It's not. This is not what Buddhist practice is aimed towards. It's not about sort of neutralizing our emotional nature, but it's more to do with understanding it, seeing how it works, and learning how to guide it skillfully. One of the aspects of emotion is that whenever we are experiencing any kind of emotion, whether it's positive or negative or neutral, whether it's inspiration or excitement or joy or grief, sadness, anger, fear, whatever it might be, wholesome, unwholesome, bright or dark, there's always some kind of physical sensation. There's a physical corollary. There's a physical sensation that goes along with any kind of emotional state. So with the feelings of excitement or inspiration, or the feeling of grief, the feeling of sadness, the feeling of fear, of desire, anger, whatever it might be. And there's no fixed pattern that this works for all of us. Everyone has their own particular imprint, like we have our own fingerprints or DNA sequence. There's unique ways in which each of us will experience emotion as a physical feeling. But I would suggest that that it's the same for all of us in some respects, that whenever we experience any emotion, there is a physical sensation that goes along with that. And so that physicality, or the quality of Vedana, feeling that's associated with an emotional state, that can be a very helpful inroad, a very helpful way that we can steer the mind towards a quality of emotional balance and help us to develop a quality of mindfulness and wisdom, a quality of integration in relationship to our emotional experience. If there's a particular emotional habit that you have that you want to understand, like if your mind is very taken up with grief, like sadness at the loss of a loved one, or if you're say particularly prone to irritation, that your mind is a kind of Olympic class complainer kind of a mind, that you're always just grumbling about life and complaining about things, and the mind moves towards negativity and criticism. Or if your mind is, say, particularly prone towards anxiety and fear, then you can use the meditation deliberately to explore those particular habits and to understand them more completely. So just to give an example that I have used a lot over the years was the quality of fear, experience of fear. But, I'd already been a monk for about 6 or 7 years, maybe 8 years, before I realized that my basic relationship to life was one of anxiety. So it was so strong, it was so pervasive, it was so kind of unrelenting that I didn't even realize I did this. It was just like the force of gravity, it was just there all the time. And what I mean by this is that it suddenly dawned on me one day that my basic relationship to life was, if it exists, worry about it. That's your fundamental relationship to life, whatever it is. If there's something that you perceive, whether it's a human being, whether it's a brick or a tree or a cloud, if you're aware of it, worry about it. Anybody had an experience like that? So. And this was surprising because I've been a sort of professional meditator for a number of years, and watching my mind and feeling like this was something that I was looking at closely and learning about how the mind works, and it was astonishing how it was such a strong habit, it was such a continuous presence that I didn't even realize that I did this. It was just so normal that, well, of course, if something exists, then you should worry. I mean, it's irresponsible not to be worried. You're not doing your duty if you're not fretting. It was the feeling that I had. So I realized that I needed to learn about this, or to understand this anxious habit, and how easily the mind got caught up in that. And it was really through listening to Luang Por Sumedho's advice and following his guidance on this that I learned how to use the physical sensations of an emotion in this way. Because what the guidance that he gave that I found extremely helpful was to say, when the mind is say caught up in an emotion, then the tendency is to get drawn into that. So if your mind is worrying about something, that the habit is for the attention to go onto the thing that you're worried about, like worried about what somebody thinks about you, or worried whether you're going to be able to get through the traffic on the M25 to get to the airport in time to catch your plane, or worried about whether the meeting is going to go on for another 2 hours. And or whatever it might be, that the attention goes on to the thing, the object of worry, about what that person's feeling, or what whether you're going to be able to catch the plane, or whether the meeting's ever going to come to an end. That the attention goes to the object, and we miss what's happening. We miss the actual experience of fear. We miss what is happening within us because we miss what's happening on the subject side because the attention is going to the object over there. And so what Luang Por Sumedho used to encourage is say, well, if you recognize you have a particular habit, then bring it up deliberately in the meditation. And so that what one can do in this is you bring your mind to as much of a quality of calm and stillness as possible. So focus the attention on the present, and using the breath or listening to the nada sound, and allowing there to be as much inner spaciousness as possible. So just letting the mind relax, be open, attentive, and aware, and then deliberately bring in something that causes an emotional reaction. So, like with anxiety, to bring up something that you might you would know that would trigger anxiety, like something like a simple feeling like I've got it wrong, and people will be upset with me, something like that, or we're going to be late. we're late, and so or remembering some particular incident from the past where it aroused that feeling, where there was anxiety, where you did something that was criticized by others, and you were being blamed, and you're worried about what was going to happen, or thinking of a person who causes that feeling of anxiety in you, that you never know what they're going to do next, or whatever it might be, that they are an intimidating person. So when you deliberately trigger that emotion, you don't want a whole big story. So that you just need something to sort of light the fire, as it were. So that just taking a simple phrase like I'm late, or they don't like me, or him. You know all the details already. You don't have to spell it out over again. Also, this is particularly with negativity and conflicts. That those who we had say a lot of contention with, people who we've been in arguments with, or ex-spouses, particularly potent in this. And all you need to do is you really just need to think him or her, because you really know all the details, and just enough to trigger that reaction. So what I found was quite easy to do, and so when you consciously trigger that emotional reaction, so you put in something that brings up the feeling of fear, then and this is the most difficult part, is where you deliberately take your attention away from all of the verbal creations. The mind starts to launch into, and you know what he did next? I can't believe he did that. That's absolutely outrageous. No. So you draw your attention away from all of the verbal creations, the conceptualizing, and consciously bring it into the body and say, okay, where does that feeling of fear sit? Where's that feeling of indignation or resentment? Where is that? How does that feel? What's its temperature? What's its quality, its texture? Where do I feel that? So with fear, I found that this was almost invariably a knot of tension down in the gut, in the solar plexus area. There'd be a tightness, a tightening of the stomach, in the abdomen there. And so, having then triggered that emotion, then you bring your attention just to the sensation itself. And it takes a bit of effort to not let the mind go into the storytelling, but with a bit of focus. And so this is why it's important to establish a quality of clear attention and steadiness of attention at the beginning. Then you simply use that physical sensation as the meditation object, just noticing that, and then cultivating this quality of acceptance, a radical acceptance for that feeling. And what was really striking to me in this instance was because this habit of fear and being driven by fear and anxiety for my whole life, you're doing everything that you can to get away from that feeling, to get to a place where you're not feeling that, or something is ameliorating that or helping it to disappear. And as if this was the most terrible, awful feeling that you had to get away from. And fear is Mother Nature's protection. Fear is not a disease. It's how beings protect themselves. The living creatures. The ones who weren't afraid got eaten, or the ones who weren't afraid fell off the cliff. The ones who weren't afraid got hit by the oncoming traffic. So fear is useful. So I remember years ago I was on a retreat in the forest at Chithurst, and I was sitting on this 5-bar gate watching the sun coming up early in the morning, and there were these deer grazing out in the field and just nibbling the young corn, and then I sneezed or coughed or something, made this noise, and the deer kind of perked their heads up and then sort of saw me on the gate and then belted off across the field. And I thought, oh, poor things, their lives so dominated by fear and terror. This innocent monk sneezes and then they're racing away. Poor things. And then this thought followed along, like that's how they stay alive. That's why deer have big ears and big eyes, so they can tell when there's any danger around, so that their fear is what helps them to stay alive. But it becomes problematic when it sort of overspills its boundaries, and it's not just to help keep us from being eaten by saber-toothed tigers or mountain lions and such like, or hunters, shot by hunters, but it's where it's a pervasive and continual and stressful habit. So what I noticed that when I brought attention to the physical sensation of fear, even though I spent so much time and effort and energy getting away from that, when you really bring attention to what it's like, the feeling of fear as a sensation, as a presence without any kind of commentary about it, there's this somewhat disappointing sense of, oh, it's not that bad at all, really. Why do I spend so much time and effort and energy trying to get away from this? This isn't even as bad as a headache or a stone in the shoe. It's not as bad as a toothache or let alone a broken bone or anything like that. It's really not that terrible. Not that unbearable at all. It's not pleasant, and you're not pretending that it's delightful or sweet, but it's really not that bad. But it's because of the conditioning and the reactive process that we have that sensation of oh, and then we want to get to a place where we won't feel that. We get back from the edge of the cliff, or we get away from where the danger is. We turn the light on, and then okay, we can see. Fine, Good. No ghosts. Yes. We're all right. Whew. So then with this particular practice, then what you do is, to having triggered it, then consciously just stay with that sensation for a few minutes, as fully and attentively, just developing this attitude of acceptance and being open to it, just letting that be fully known and felt, just as a sensation, again with as little commentary or judgment as possible. And then after a few minutes, say 5 minutes, 10 minutes or so, then consciously start to let it go and to let the body relax and to relinquish, to let that feeling dissolve and fade away. And then it's important in this and this was something that Luang Por used to stress, is that you don't just sort of hurry to get away from it or try to wipe it out, but you just let it fade on its own. And sometimes with a particularly strong emotion, like if you have some sort of long-standing resentment or a painful grief or some intense regret, that it can take 5 seconds to trigger the emotion, and then 45 minutes to let go of it. But if it takes open inner space of the mind. So in this process, you've watched you've watched an emotion come into being. It's been born. It's done its thing. It's sort of come to its sort of full peak, and then it's gone through its whole cycle and faded away and gone back to nothing again. You've watched the whole life cycle of birth, flourishing, fading, and dissolving. You watched it through the entire process. You've seen it come out of nothing, go back to nothing. So, having seen that, and during the course of its presence, then there has been a quality of acceptance of it, that you've accepted in a wholehearted and complete way, at least the physical sensation that comes from the emotion. And the interesting and mysterious thing is that because we've accepted and had an open and unbiased attitude towards the physical sensation, then to some degree we've also accepted where the emotion has come from. There's the heart comes into accord with that habit of fearing, or that the source of that conflict, or that source of that grief, and to some degree there's an acceptance and a coming into harmony with the origin, the source of that. And so it's like with drinking water from a stream. When you drink water from a stream, or you take water from a stream, you've also drunk from the source of the stream. You've tasted where it's come from. So this has a very powerful effect on helping us to work with emotions. And then you can do this in the sort of quiet and stillness of a retreat time, or a formal period of meditation practice. But if you develop this and you learn to do this in a sort of quiet and controlled situation, then you begin to be able to do it more and more, sort of on the run, as it were. And so, for myself, just going back to this experience or this habit of anxiety and fear that I had, so that then what I would do is that I would then, once I got the hang of it and how to work with this, and sort of going to taking the attention off the object and then going to the physical sensation, then during the course of the day I would make it my practice, effort, whenever anxiety arose about anything, about whether it was about who these people are that are coming into the sala, or what should I say to Ajahn Sumedho about this particular issue, or are we going to get that plane with the traffic on the M25, or is this meeting ever going to come to an end? That I would make the intent. Okay, whenever anxiety arises, bring the attention into the solar plexus and make that your focus of attention, and then be aware of that, know that, let yourself be conscious of it, and then after a moment, let yourself relax. And then when you start to develop this sort of on the run, as it were, and you bring it into real life situations that are causing it, you're not sort of just conjuring it up out of your own memory or imagination, but you're sort of dealing with it in real life situations, then what happens is that there's a very interesting, curious alchemy, because, so again using the example of fear, what happens then if you then bring your attention to that feeling in the body, you let the body relax, and then you ask yourself, after the body's relaxed and you've let go of that tension, then you ask yourself, now what was it that I was worried about? And almost invariably the mind would take a couple of seconds to say, it was, oh yeah, right, that bloke, yeah, he doesn't look right, yeah, I'm not sure where he's at. But for a couple of moments, a couple of seconds, you'd sort of unplugged the anxiety program. There was no thing to be worried about. And so what really dawns on you is, if I don't make it a problem, it's not a problem. If I don't create it as a problem, I don't create it as a thing to be worried about, there isn't actually anything to be worried about. You follow? So that the mind makes it a problem, or something that we're annoyed about. That the mind has to create that. It shouldn't be this way. That's outrageous. How can she do that? That's totally wrong. That we have to construct that, and if we don't construct that, it's not there. Or something that we desire. That if the emotion is one of a desire or greed, that once you've worked with it in that way, you let go of that desire, and then you ask yourself, what was it that I was wanting so badly? And then, even if it's just for half a second, just watching how the mind has to reconstruct that desire thing. It was, oh yeah, right, yeah, I gotta have it. But for half a second, you didn't gotta have it. For half a second, you were fine without it, because you couldn't even remember what it was that you were missing. Now, some of you might think this is just a pointless mind game. But I can vouch from my own experience. This has a very radical way of say unplugging those habits. So say taking away the causes for emotional reactivity and the bondage of the heart to loves and hates and fears and anxieties, reactions, griefs and regrets, and excitements, and so that the confusion or the identification with emotions is really is radically changed. Is really altered in a fundamental way. And so, as I said, the habit that I had with this was extremely strong. So that for about 2 or 3 years, this was like the main thing I was doing with my practice. Just making this the main effort. So every day, at the beginning, during the morning sitting every day, I would set the intention. Okay, during today, whenever anxiety, fear of any kind arises about anything whatsoever, then I'll bring my attention to that and be conscious of it and let it be fully known and let go of it, so that I would prime myself for that every day. But then after working with it like that for 2 or 3 years, then by the end of that time, then it changed quite radically, so that it just, in a way, had just been dissolved, so it just stopped being an issue. And it was quite a sort of remarkable change in my experience of the world. What life was like when you didn't have to worry about everything all of the time. It felt quite revolutionary, first thing. Sometimes you think, no, this can't be right. I'm not doing my job here. The world can't carry on unless I'm worrying about it. But then you realize, no, it's absolutely fine. So, as I said, each one of us has our own particular emotional flavors, and some of you might be thinking, I haven't got any problems with emotions, I'm fine. And if that's true, well, sadhu. I feel much mudita for you. But, so what we're able to do then in this way is to understand how there's say that the problems don't come from having emotions. The problem or problematic nature of the emotional world is where there's a an entanglement. The heart is caught up and identified with loving, with hating, with fearing, desiring, with grieving and regretting and hoping. And that it's the identification and entanglement with it that causes the problems. And when that identification and entanglement is not there, then we feel that the flow of emotion, of happiness, unhappiness, liking, disliking, as I was saying last night, it can flow through us and we can know it. It can all pass through without confusion, and then the emotions that are wholesome and beautiful, like kindness and compassion and well-wishing, then we act on those and empower those and strengthen those. And then the emotions like resentment, anger, jealousy, fear, then we are able to recognize those as being harmful or destructive, and they flow through, but we don't act on them. Or like Lumpur Cha said about his anger tendencies. Yes, I have lots of anger, but I don't use it. Another aspect of going away from the subject of emotions, another aspect of developing this quality of internal spaciousness is it also gives us a bit more of a perspective on conceptual thought. And so that this is one of the things that came up in the one of the group interviews yesterday about how to develop mindfulness of thinking, because it seems to be extremely hard to be able to watch thoughts coming into being and appearing in the mind. And so a practice, again, that Lumpur Sumedho would teach is in a similar vein, is that of using deliberate thought. To be able to learn how to watch thought, you deliberately think something. And so again, this might seem like a pointless mind game, but or maybe it is. But it can also be very handy. So he would suggest taking a simple, completely bland thought like today is Wednesday, very emotionally uncharged. Today is Wednesday, or something of that nature. So it's a very non-contentious, ordinary statement. And so bringing the mind to a quality of quietness, spaciousness, stillness, then just deliberately thinking that thought. So you're watching the thought begin. So you're noticing the space before it, and then you think, today is Wednesday. So you notice the space before, and then planting the thought there, and then the space after. So, and doing this as a little exercise, like as if you're learning a musical instrument. You have your exercises, doing your scales, just doing the scales over and over again, so that you learn you teach your fingers how to make those particular notes. So you can use a simple exercise like this just to train yourself how to watch a conceptual thought, and then taking something that's to begin with, it's totally bland, like today is Wednesday, and then once you get the hang of doing it with that, and you can see the beginning, the middle, and the end of a thought, then you can start with something a bit more complicated, something that's a bit more involved, or also just noticing the spaces between the words. Today, space, is, space, Wednesday, space. So that even as a thought is passing through, you're able to notice the space of the mind that is there between the words. And so this is a whole kind of area of practice that is very helpful, because our attention gets caught by the objects. The mind goes into the content of a thought, the content of a concept, of a memory, or a set of ideas. We get swept up in it, but we don't see that, this is a thought. Like with emotions, we don't see, this is an emotion, this is a feeling, because we're swept up into the content. So even more compelling can be conceptual thoughts. like trying to figure things out or plan things or remembering things, and so the mind gets swept up so easily in the content. But just to be able to watch a thought as a thought is tremendously helpful. So that you're, as I've been saying, with the development of vipassana, so much of the capacity to watch the mind is built around letting go of the content and being able to simply watch the process. So that this kind of an exercise of learning how to think deliberately, to be able to watch a thought or make a thought come into being, to focus on it as it's present, and then to let it finish. That by taking a simple exercise like that and learning how to do it with a bland and neutral thought, then as the mind conjures up its own thoughts or memories or opinions, then again, rather than just buying into it and getting caught up with it and the mind launching into a fantasy or a plan or a memory or an opinion, there can be that clear wisdom that knows, oh, this is an opinion. This is a memory. Yeah. This is a story my mind likes to tell. That's all. You don't have to push it away. You don't have to grasp hold of it. You can know, oh, this is just a pattern taking shape in the mind. And also, Luang Por would recommend just using just our sensory experience of space, like in a room like this, and listening to a Dhamma talk. Now, the attention, I imagine, goes more to the words rather than the silences between the words, right? Because even though you might have heard it all before, the words are more interesting than the silences. Like the people in this room are more interesting than the space between people. So by the I see Victor's got his earplugs in. So I'm not sure if you're hearing what I'm saying or you're hearing the silence. But the spaces between people are less interesting than the people. You know, people have names, people have histories, they have genders, they have kind of ages, they have different coloured clothing. They have we have different qualities from each other. So interest arises. The attention is caught by those particularities. But you know, the space between people is all pretty much the same. Space is not interesting. But what we are then missing is if we don't notice space, is that we are say always absorbing our attention into one condition after another. We're not able to say keep a perspective on life because the mind goes into judgment and comparing, and criticism, and liking and disliking. So a simple practice of noticing space, and again, it's not very complicated or demanding, but just to take the trouble when we come into a room like this to take a moment to notice the space around people, the spaces between people. When you're hearing a talk or something being said, just to notice the silences between the words, and that it doesn't take much. It doesn't take a lot of attention. But when we bring our awareness, or we bring that into awareness of what the space in the room is like, we realize, oh, there's actually more space than people here. And space is not interesting, but it's very peaceful. It's very calming, and very very delightful in its own way. And so that just as with the internal relationship to emotion and to conceptual thought, we're able to keep those in perspective because of noticing the space around them. So we can support that by developing this kind of a practice of noticing space in the world around us, in the things, the places where we go and the things that we do. You might, even on the London Underground, you might think, oh, it's so noisy, so crowded, but just to take a moment to notice the space in the tube. I mean, it's called it the tube, I mean, it's referring to the space. So that, oh look, there, look, don't just get caught up with the noise and the smell and the movement, but oh look, there's space here too, and that and how when we notice the space around things, the space within things, there's a balancing or a leveling quality that is there, rather than the mind getting caught into judgment of like and dislike and having sort of reactive patterns around it. When we notice the space that's around things, the space that's within things, then there's an equanimity or a quality of serenity there, that we are not so drawn in by the details of what's occupying that space or colouring that space, but it's all held more within a larger picture. And when we start to develop this kind of contemplation, like the space in the room and space in the mind, and we begin to look at these things in this way, and also how our experience works. So we begin to recognize, even though it's in a way it's kind of obvious, that just as a thought is known within the mind, or an emotion is known within the mind, so too what we see, hear, smell, taste and touch is also known within the mind. So right now, this room, the room that we're experiencing, is known within our mind. Right? We might say, yeah, we're all in this room, we're all sitting in the meditation hall, the retreat center, but this room is in your mind. Right? Everything you've ever known throughout your entire life has been known through the agency of your mind. Right? There's no way that any of us know anything else. Everything that's ever been experienced, ever since we were tiny babies, has been known through the experience of our minds. So we've only ever experienced our mind's representation of the world. And so we say, by the conventions of speech, in here and out there, like in my mind, in here or in here, and the world out there. But actually, the world, as we experience it, is sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, being woven together into a hopefully coherent form, so that the world is in our minds. So now, the Buddha Dhamma is not a philosophy of what they call solipsism, where like just saying that our mind, that outside of our minds, there is no world. It's all just kind of an invention. Some philosophers have sort of believed in that, and sort of taken that to be true. That if you stop looking, the world disappears. That the world is completely invented by our mind, and so that can and there's those people who believe that or still think that that's true. And this is not what is there in Buddhism. I think it was Bishop Berkeley who talked about this a lot, if I remember the English philosophy, or he's Irish actually. that he talked about the oak tree in the quadrangle of his college garden, and that did that oak tree really still continue to exist if you weren't looking at it? And it was just not to be too much of a distraction about this, but it was one of his proofs of the existence of God was that the fact that the oak tree kept existing while you weren't looking at it meant that somebody must be looking at it, and if somebody was looking at it, that somebody was probably God. So, with an even greater digression, there was a couple of limericks that were written about this that come to mind, which was by some bored philosophy student, I'm sure, a few decades ago. Said, there was a young man who said, God must think it exceedingly odd to find that this tree continues to be when there's no one about in the quad. And the response was, "Dear sir, your astonishment's odd. I am always about in the quad. And that's why this tree will continue to be. Signed, yours faithfully, God." So Buddhists don't think like that. So we're not. But we're not saying that the world is entirely fabricated by your mind, and that other beings don't really exist, and it's all just a dream that you're in the middle of. But rather that your version of the world is constructed and conditioned by your own conditioning. That the world that I experience is built up and is formed, is framed by the conditioning of a lifetime. The fact that I speak English, that I have the mind thinks in this particular language, or have the life experiences or background of a human being. That, if I was a spider, this room would be extremely different. The humans would be really boring, but the things that a spider can eat would be really interesting. So that the world that we experience is fabricated, is formed by the patterns of consciousness within our minds. So that when we consider it in this way, we see that the world is in our mind, and that when we are able to experience things in that way, then that it changes our relationship to the world. See, the world is in your mind, that there isn't really an out there. It's all in here. It's all known here. It's all, say, patterns of mental event taking place, forming here within our awareness. So that then, when we are able to sort of shift the perception in that way, we're able to take the flow of our thoughts or the flow of events out in the world, and to recognize it all happens here. There's a quality of integration in that. There's a sense of wholeness that comes with opening the mind in that way. And so it can be particularly useful to when you're doing walking meditation. And it's very much this feeling of, I am out there walking up and down as, the world is around me, you have sky and trees and birds and grass and such like. And all of the clues are saying, no, that's the world, there's the sky. And look, even nighttime you can see up the stars and the planets and such like far away. But to be recollecting that, the world is in my mind. The world all happens here. It's there is no there. It's all here. It's all known within the same sphere of consciousness, the same sphere of awareness. Then when we shift the perception in that way, just notice how that affects us. Again, you might feel this is just another pointless little mind game, but the point of these exercises is how that changes us when we are able to recognize. Yes, that is actually the fact that if I close my eyes, the visual world vanishes. And I open my eyes, it reappears again. Everyone comes into being. That is actually the fact that my experience of the world is fabricated by my senses, and that is the world that I know. That this is all happening here. It's within this mind. It's known here. And so that then being able to see that what we experience is a continuous flowing process, in a single integrated process, then it makes it also easier to say abide in that quality of knowing, an awareness that is, say, receiving that flow, knowing that flow of perception and experience, so that it's along with, say, attending to the different patterns of perception and thought and feeling, there is a quality of, along with that movement and flow and change, there's also a tremendous quality of of stillness, just like the space of this room contains all of the people that come and go and change within it. The space contains, there's the movement. It's that which is a framework for the movement. So similarly, within our minds, that there is the quality of awareness, which is the framework, or that which contains and accommodates all of the movement. Now, at the end of Ajahn Chah's teaching career, like many teachers, he would have particular themes that he'd like to explore or play upon for a year or two at a time. And right at the end of his time of being able to teach, before he had a stroke and couldn't speak anymore, so from about 1979, 80, 81, then a particular theme that he used to use was that when people would come to visit him, one of the questions he'd ask would be, have you ever seen still water? You ever seen still water? And people would say, well, yes. Yeah. Look here in this glass. This water is still, it's not moving. So have you ever seen flowing water? I'd say, well, yeah, I've seen flowing water. And then he'd say, did you ever see still flowing water? Water that's both flowing and still. And then people would think, what? I must have misheard that. What's he talking about? Still flowing water. Nam Lai Ning. Nam Lai Ning. And so he would say, you ever seen that? You ever come across that? And they say, I'm sorry, Luang Por, I never came across that. And he'd say, well, the mind is like still flowing water. It flows insofar as there's perceptions and thoughts and moods, the sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, thinking, emotion comes and goes and changes. There's a continuous flow. But there's also stillness, because that which is aware of all of the mental activity, of perception, of thought, of feeling, that is not going anywhere. That's outside of the world of space and time. That is perfectly still. It's not something that is subject to movement or change. It is the ever-present quality of knowing, the Puru, the one who knows, that which is aware. So your mind is like still flowing water. There's stillness and there's movement, and the two interpenetrate and permeate each other completely and without conflict. So this is a helpful image to bear in mind, and to be able to see that even when there's movement, like the body moving up and down on the walking meditation path, or there's movement, say, of my hands going back and forth, that even though there might be movement, that which knows the movement isn't going anywhere. That which knows the movement is outside of the realm of time and space. It's ever present. It's not caught up in that. So that just as you're doing the walking meditation, there can be the perception of the body moving. There's the body walking up and down, but that which knows the body is always here, right? So just as for your entire life, everything that you've ever known, ever experienced, has happened through your mind, it's only ever happened here, right? Wherever you were for your entire life, it was always here, right? Not in the shrine room at Amravati, obviously. But there was always a here-ness. Wherever you were, it was here. Even when you're a little baby and you couldn't think the word here, or whatever your earliest language was. But that's life was experienced here. And so that quality is when we are bringing attention to that. This is what Ajahn Chah is referring to as this quality of stillness in the still flowing water, that life is always happening here. The body, even the body moving up and down, even as the body is walking, that which is knowing the walking isn't going anywhere. Right? You follow? So that there's a perception of the body moving, but that which is knowing the movement isn't moving. It's ever present. It's always here. It's free from bondage to the realm of time and space. It's unlocated. Now we been talking a lot about anicca, dukkha, anatta, impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and not self, and in using these reflections to help loosen the habits of attachment and identification, and those kind of attachments can be quite subtle and pervasive and kind of strong, particularly around the feeling of self. I've been emphasizing particularly this seeing the self-creating habits of mind and how to loosen those, let those go, and to free the heart from self-view. But those bonds and those habits of grasping can be very subtle and pervasive and strong. And one of the elements of it that even when there can be a clear seeing of those self-creating habits and we're letting go of them, there can still be a strong bondage going on. I was mentioning today, chatting with someone, how many years ago I was on a winter retreat in Abhayagiri monastery in California, and it was like 3 or 4 weeks into the retreat, and my mind was very quiet, and the practice was very steady and strong, and it was very quiet and supportive retreat environment. And so during the course of the days, it was getting very, very easy to see the quality of anatta, that all the perceptions and thoughts and memories, the body and feelings and so forth. It was really clear. This isn't, it's not self. It's not me. It's not mine. It's not who and what I am. Just there was a kind of obviousness and naturalness to that, and then suddenly, but then when I was feeling that there was a kind, even though that there was a really clear sense of not self, that this is not me, not mine, there was a strange kind of crampedness, or a quality of containment or limitation, and so there was this. This was curious. I thought, well, what's this about? There's this. Even though there's this clear seeing that things are anicca, dukkha, anatta, that they're not self, they're empty of substance. There's this strange limitation here, or this strange kind of tension in the system, and it suddenly dawned on me. So it became clear. It's all happening here. There's this. The mind is creating this feeling of locatedness, that everything is happening in my mind, and it's here in this spot, in this place, and the risk of sort of getting too abstruse. But I feel this is a helpful thing to look at. It was clear to me how up until that point I'd never actually seen that kind of an attachment to the feeling of place, or the feeling of location, that the mind creates that sense of here, in this spot, this kind of geographical center. This is where things are felt. This is where I'm experiencing things. And so I don't know if any of you have intuited this or felt this, but it was very striking to me at that time. And so I suddenly realized there was this kind of attachment to a sense of the awareness was it was happening in this place, in this spot, in this location. And so I began to look at that very feeling of locatedness, and the sense of things happening here, and using a very, very simple and straightforward reflection, just bringing to mind the word here, or it's all happening here, and that. Just by bringing the attention to that, then how absurd the word here began to feel, and there was a whole extra layer of letting go was able to happen. And shortly after that, I came across a sentence in a teaching, a Dhamma talk of Ajahn Mahabura's, where he talked about this insight in that had a very radical role to play in his own practice. And he's saying it was just after the time that his teacher, Venerable Ajahn Mun, had passed away, and he was doing walking meditation. Ajahn Mahabura was doing walking meditation, and suddenly this thought appeared in his mind, which said, if there is a point or a center to the knower anywhere, then that is the essence of birth in some level of being. If there is a point or a center to the knower, then that is the essence of birth. That's the source of birth in some level of being. That's where the mind gets caught. That's in a way avijja happens right there. And that was a really, maybe I had read that before, but it hadn't really struck me until I'd had this sort of reflection about the unlocated quality of Dhamma. And I said, that's it. My mind has been creating this point or the center of knowing, and it's not until that is actually recognized as a quality of grasping that the heart can really be freed to any kind of radical extent. So that along with things being impermanent, unsatisfactory, and not self, then I find it's also helpful to recollect that essentially, Dhamma is unlocated. That the world of three-dimensional space only applies to the world of form, physical form. That the world of mind, location does not apply. Place does not apply in terms of mind. Interesting thought. The three-dimensional space only has a relationship to the physical world. Mind does not have any fundamental relationship to three-dimensional space, because mind has no substance, there's no physical form. So therefore 3D space, which relates to physical form, essentially has no relationship to the mind. So where is your mind? And then in this, so I found this a really helpful reflection. So the rest of that winter retreat, I was just using these kind of ways to explore it, just to use the word where, or where is my mind? Where is the mind? And by illuminating that, the presumptions that are made about, well, it's here or here, here. To say, well, any kind of here-ness is not it. So again, at the risk of this being too abstruse or not helpful, I feel it's if we're using this opportunity to look at all the different areas of our habits of attachment and identification, this is also good to look at as an area to explore, and just to see that even at this very, very subtle level, even when there's no sense of self, that it can be that no sense of self is being experienced here. And that here-ness is also to be let go of. That Dhamma is absolutely real, but is completely unlocated. So you can't say that the Dhamma is anywhere. Or we say, well, it's everywhere. But just to say, look at that whole dimension and to recognize awareness does not apply, and to just let that have its effect on the citta. So I offer these thoughts for consideration this evening.
Settling into the sign.
उन्होंने शुरू किया ये बात से कि जब हम नाद को सुनते हैं, साउंड ऑफ साइलेंस को, तो उससे मन में एक इनर स्पेशियसनेस हो जाती है, स्पेस बन जाता है, जिससे कारण कि हम चीज़ों को देख भी सकते हैं और फिर भी सम्मत भाव बना रहता है, मन इधर उधर भटकता नहीं है। तो पहले उन्होंने इमोशंस के बारे में बात की, फिर थॉट्स के बारे में, फिर अनलोकेटेडनेस के बारे में, मतलब उनकी कोई जगह नहीं है उस तरह से। तो उन्होंने बताया कि जो इमोशंस हैं सब वो इतने स्ट्रांग होते हैं कि हमारे मन को खींच के ले जाते हैं, और हमको क्या करना चाहिए कि उनको समझने की कोशिश करनी चाहिए। हाँ, इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि हम इमोशंस को दबा रहे हैं या उनसे भाग रहे हैं, लेकिन उनको उठने दें, लेकिन उनको समझने का प्रयास करें, तो उससे मुक्ति मिल सकती है। वो चाहे किसी भी तरह का इमोशन हो, दुख हो, सुख हो, नाराज़गी हो, एक्साइटमेंट हो, भय हो, गुस्सा हो, तो उनका हर इमोशन के साथ कहीं ना कहीं उसका शरीर पे कुछ ना कहीं पे असर पड़ता है। और शरीर के किस भाग पे असर पड़ता है ये कह पाना मुश्किल है, लेकिन अगर हम ध्यान से देखेंगे शरीर को, जब इमोशन आ रहा है तो पता चल जाता है कि इस भाग पे जैसे गुस्से का असर यहाँ पे हो रहा है, भय का असर इधर हो रहा है, ऐसी बात समझ में आने लगती है। तो वो एक आलम्बन बन जाता है हमारी साधना का कि इमोशन को ना देख के हम उसको देख लें, और इमोशन साथ साथ उसके चलता रहता है, और उसको देखते हैं तो वो धीरे धीरे उसका असर कम होने लगता है। तो उन्होंने अपना उदाहरण दिया कि उनको एंग्जाइटी का बहुत दिक्कत रहती थी, किसी भी कारण से कोई भी काम होता था तो उनको चिंता रहती थी, ये पूरा होगा कि नहीं होगा, ठीक होगा कि नहीं होगा। तो उन्होंने बताया कि ये सब था, जो 6-7 साल तक वो भिक्षु रह चुके थे, उसके बाद उन्हें उनका उनके गुस्सा और वरी की जो एंग्जाइटी थी इतनी बैकग्राउंड में रहती थी कि उनको पता ही नहीं चलता था कि ये मेरे एक मन में विकार है। तो कई 6-7 साल बाद उनको साधना के बाद मालूम पड़ा कि ये भी एक दिक्कत है जो मुझे हैंडल करनी चाहिए। फिर अजान सुमेधों की गाइडेंस के साथ उन्होंने काम किया, उन्होंने कहा कि भाई आप इसके साथ जो शरीर में का जो अंग जुड़ा हुआ है उसकी तरफ ध्यान दो। तो जब भी इमोशन जागे तो मन उस इमोशन से हटा के शरीर के उस स्थान पर देखोगे, मान ले जान लिया गया इमोशन जागा है, और शरीर के साथ ले जाओगे, तो उससे धीरे धीरे वो जो इमोशन है वो शांत हो जाएगा। क्योंकि अगर हम उस इमोशन के क्या जो इशू है उसमें उलझने की कोशिश करेंगे तो फिर कभी भी उससे निकल नहीं पाते हैं। तो उन्होंने कहा कि इस बार इस तरह का उन्होंने ये भी कहा कि अगर अब साधना का अंग बनाना है, कोई इमोशन बहुत स्ट्रांग है, जैसे अजान अमरो बता रहे थे कि उनका इमोशन को जो इतना स्ट्रांग था, सारे जीवन का अंग बना हुआ था, उनको 3 साल तक इसके ऊपर साधना करे थे, तब जाके उससे मुक्ति मिली। तो वो कहते थे कि मैं जब साधना के लिए बैठता था तो मैं मन में विचार लाता था किसी न किसी बात का, जिससे कि वो इमोशन पैदा हो, और जब इमोशन पैदा होता था तो होते थे तो फिर उनको देखते थे कि कैसे उसको कहाँ शरीर पे असर हो रहा है, और उसको समझने का प्रयास करते थे। तो इस प्रकार से इमोशन उठता था, काफ़ी देर तक रहता था, और फिर धीरे धीरे कम हो जाता था। और जब बार बार इसका असर किया, जैसे उन्होंने बताया 3 साल तक उस पर साधना इस तरह से की, तो अंततः वो बिल्कुल समाप्त हो गया, और बड़ा भारी ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन, बहुत रिलीफ उनको महसूस हुआ। दूसरा एस्पेक्ट उन्होंने बताया विचारों का, कि जब हमें प्रपंच बहुत मन में चलता है तो उसको भी देखने का प्रयास कैसे किया जाए। तो कि हमको कोशिश ये करनी चाहिए कि किस तरह से हम विचारों को देख सकें जैसे वो उठ रहे हैं। तो उसके लिए भी उनको उसमें तो बताते हैं कि आप ट्रेनिंग ऐसे करिए कि जब आप शांति से ध्यान कर रहे हैं तो मन में कोई विचार ले आइए जो बिल्कुल सहज विचार, जैसे आज बुधवार है, मैं ह्यूमन बीइंग हूँ, बस उसको देखिए, और जैसे ही वो उठे उसको जानिए, और जैसे वो समाप्त हो उसको जानिए। तो इस तरह से अभ्यास करने से ये आदत पड़ जाती है कि विचारों के उठना और समाप्त होने का मालूम होने लगता है। और फिर डेली लाइफ में इस तरह की हम प्रैक्टिस कर सकते हैं, जब भी परिस्थिति हो और कोई विचार उठने लगे। और उसके लिए सहायक उन्होंने कहा कि अगर जो कोई बात सुन रहे हैं तो शब्दों के बीच में जो साइलेंस होती है उसकी ओर ध्यान दें। जैसे कहीं हॉल में बैठे हुए बहुत सारे लोग हैं, लोगों के बीच में जो गैप है उसको ध्यान दें, क्योंकि लोगों की ओर ध्यान जाता है तो उनकी जो क्वालिटीज़ हैं उसकी वो हमारे ओर ध्यान खींच लेती हैं। जब स्पेस पे ध्यान जाता है तो मन शांत रहता है। तो एक और उन्होंने कुशल उपाय बताया कि किस तरह से हम विचारों को हावी होने से रोक सकते हैं। तीसरी बात जो उन्होंने कही कि जो भी संसार के बारे में हमारी जानकारी होती है वो हमारे मन में ही होती है। ये कहने की बात होती है कि जब हम चल रहे हैं कि मैं यहाँ हूँ, संसार वहाँ है, पेड़ यहाँ है, तारे यहाँ हैं, सूर्य वहाँ पे है, वो कन्वेंशनल लेवल पे ठीक बात है। लेकिन अगर आप गहराई से विचार करें तो सारा संसार जो है हम अपने मन के माध्यम से जानते हैं। तो जो हम संसार को जैसा हम समझते हैं वो वैसा ही नहीं है जो दूसरा भी समझता है। हर प्राणी उस संसार को अलग तरह से समझता है। इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि हम ये कह रहे हैं कि संसार कुछ नहीं है, ये कह रहे हैं कि जो हम संसार को जान रहे हैं वो अपने इंद्रियों के माध्यम से जान रहे हैं, और इसलिए वो एक प्रतिबिंब है, न कि वास्तविकता है। तो इस तरह से जब हम साधना करने लगते हैं, बीच में स्पेस देखते हैं, शब्दों के बीच का स्पेस देखते हैं, तो जो अवेयरनेस है, जो नॉन ऑब्जेक्टिव अवेयरनेस है, उसकी तरफ ध्यान जाता है और स्टिलनेस की तरफ ध्यान जाता है। मन जो है शांत होने लगता है, एम्प्टीनेस की तरफ बढ़ने लगता है। तो बताते थे खजांचा इस तरह के कनंड्रम काफ़ी इस्तेमाल करते थे। जैसे पूछते थे जो स्टिल फ्लोइंग वाटर, जिसके बारे में जो किताब का भी टाइटल है, पूछते थे लोगों से कभी तुमने स्टिल वाटर देखा है, तो सभी कहते थे हाँ। फ्लोइंग वाटर देखा है, तो भी कहते हैं हाँ। तो स्टिल फ्लोइंग वाटर तो कोई शांत भी हो और बह भी रहा हो, ऐसा पानी कैसे देखेगा? शांत पानी देखा है, बहता हुआ देखा है। तो बताते थे कि मन जो है वो एक शांत और बहते हुए पानी की तरह है। बहता हुआ पानी का तात्पर्य कि उसमें विचार आते रहते हैं, चीज़ें देखते रहते हैं, सुनते रहते हैं, समझते रहते हैं, लेकिन उसका जो एक भाव, मन का एक क्षमता ये भी है कि वो हम देख पाते हैं कि क्या हो रहा है। तो जो देखने की क्षमता है वो स्टिलनेस वाली है, जिससे कि कोई उसको असर नहीं पड़ता। अगर हमें गुस्सा भी आ रहा है तो जब हम देख रहे हैं तो जो देखने की क्षमता है वो गुस्सा नहीं होती। जब हमें खुशी हो रही है तो देखने की क्षमता खुश नहीं होती, वो हमेशा उपेक्षा भाव में रहती है। और उसी को बाद में उन्होंने आगे उसी बात को आगे बताते हुए कहा कि हमको हमेशा लगता रहता है कि जो कुछ भी हो रहा है वो यहाँ हो रहा है, मैं देख रहा हूँ, मैं सुन रहा हूँ। और जो अगर मैं का भाव चला भी जाए कि मैं 5 खंड नहीं हूँ, फिर भी ये भाव रहता है कि अंत देखा तो यहीं से जा रहा है ना। तो ये भाव जो है कि शरीर तो चल रहा है, लेकिन बॉडी चल रही है, लेकिन हम कहते रहते हैं लाइफ इज़ हैपनिंग हेयर। तो एक सेंस में सत्य है कि लाइफ इज़ हैपनिंग हेयर, बट वो हेयर जो है कोई स्पेस में नहीं है, क्योंकि हेयर का मतलब नॉर्मली तो होता है कि यहाँ स्पेस है, वो वहाँ है। तो कहते हैं अगर उसको ध्यान से देखेंगे तो जो अनात्म बोध का दूसरा स्टेज है वो यही है, उनके विचार से है कि जब वो एक अगवाईगिरी में लंबी रिट्रीट कर रहे थे तो ये बात बिल्कुल स्पष्ट हो गई थी कि मैं शरीर और इंद्रिय नहीं हूँ, मन नहीं हूँ, लेकिन एक भाव रहता था कि हाँ जाना तो यहीं से जा रहा है। तो जो मैं का भाव था वो इस सटल रूप में जानने वाले के लोकेशन के रूप में आ गया। तो जब उन्होंने उसको इन्वेस्टिगेट किया ज़्यादा तो उन्हें पता चला कि जो मन है वो एक कोई बस वस्तु नहीं है जिसको हम कह सकते हैं वो यहाँ है। मन जो है एक क्षमता है और एक ये फील्ड की तरह है। तो उसका कोई जैसे 3 डायमेंशनल स्पेस में चीज़ें पड़ी हैं, ये माइक्रोफोन पड़ा है, ये पेन पड़ा है, ये स्पीकर पड़ा है, उस तरह से हम उसके बारे में नहीं कह सकते। वो एक न उसमें स्पेस और लोकेशंस 3 डायमेंशनल स्पेस नहीं लगता है। तो ये एक और इंसाइट उनको लगता है, जैसे अनिच्छा दुख अनात्ता की है, ये भी एक इंसाइट बहुत आवश्यक है कि हम समझें कि मन जो है या धर्म जो है वो अनलोकेटेड है, वो कहीं पे स्थित नहीं है, वो 3 डायमेंशनल स्पेस उसके लिए अप्लाई नहीं करता है। तो इस तरह के वो कहते हैं कि आप कभी चिंतन करके देखिएगा सब साधना में कि मेरा मन कहाँ है, क्या यहाँ पे है, क्या सिर पे है, टांग पे है, हाथ पे है, दिल में है। तो इस तरह से जब विचार करेंगे तो धीरे 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 महसूस होने लगेगा कि सवाल ही गलत है, मन कोई ऐसी चीज़ नहीं है जो कहीं किसी स्थान पे हो सकती है। तो उनका विचार था कि ऐसा करने से भी एक अनात्म भाव की पुष्टि होती है। ब्रह्म विहारों का अभ्यास करते हैं थोड़ा संक्षेप में। आज समय हो गया, मैडम कह रही हैं समय बहुत हो गया। और ब्रह्म विहार तो ठीक से ही करना चाहिए। पहले मैत्री का, अपने प्रति, प्रियजनों के प्रति, आरक्षण करने वाले देवताओं के प्रति बहुत आवश्यक, क्योंकि जो परिस्थिति है हमारे खासतौर पर हमारे देश में इस समय हर चीज़ गलत हो रही है। कहीं जो कुछ ख़राब हो सकता है, जो कुछ बिगड़ सकता है बिगड़ रहा है। हाँ, आपने सुना होगा कि विशाखापट्टनम में जहरीली गैस लीक हो गई, सैकड़ों लोग बीमार हैं, शायद हज़ारों में पहुंच जाए वो संख्या भी। तो जो आरक्षण करने वाले देवता हैं वो भी शायद वैर में हैं हमसे। अवेरोमि अव्यापज्योमि अनिगोमि सुखी अत्तानं परिहरामि। मम माता पितु आचार्या च ज्ञातिमित्ता च सब्रह्मचारिणो च अवेराहोन्तु अव्यापज्जाहोन्तु अनीगाहोन्तु सुखी अत्तानं परिहरन्तु। आरक्षा देवता भूमट्ठा देवता रुक्खट्ठा देवता आकाशट्ठा देवता अवेराहोन्तु अव्यापज्जाहोन्तु अनीगाहोन्तु सुखी अत्तानं परिहरन्तु। अब समस्त प्राणियों के प्रति शुभकामना मैत्री भाव, सबका मंगल हो। सभी निर्वार हों, दोष से मुक्त हों, चिंता से मुक्त हों। सब्बे सत्ता सब्बे पाना सब्बे भूता सब्बे पुंगला सब्बे अत्ता भाव परियापन्ना सब्बा इत्थियो सब्बे पुरुषा सब्बे अरिया सब्बे अनरिया सब्बे देवा सब्बे मनुष्या सब्बे विनिपातिका अवीराहोन्तु अव्यापज्जाहोन्तु अनीगाहोन्तु सुखी अत्तानं परिहरन्तु। आप करुणा ब्रह्म विहार, थोड़ा सा भी ध्यान अगर हम संसार की स्थिति पे डालते हैं, अपने शहर की स्थिति पे, अपने देश की स्थिति पे, विश्व की स्थिति पे, तो चारों तरफ दुख का सागर बहता है। सबके प्रति करुणा जागती है, सभी प्राणी दुखों से मुक्त हों, जो रोगी हैं वो स्वस्थ हों, उनके स्वास्थ्य लाभ में जो कठिनाइयाँ आ रही हैं वो दूर हों। सभी प्राणी दुख मुक्त हों। सब्बीतियो विवज्जन्तु शोको रोगविनश्यतु माते भवतु अन्तरायो सुखी दीर्घायुको भव सुखी दीर्घायुको भव सुखी दीर्घायुको भव। अब कृतज्ञता ज्ञापन सभी लोगों के प्रति जो विषम परिस्थिति में सेवा कार्य में लगे हैं, लोगों के कष्ट हटाने दूर करने में लगे हुए हैं। हम सब आए अपने पुण्यों को उनके साथ साझा करें, इस शुभकामना से कि वो सुरक्षित रहें, स्वस्थ रहें, उनके कार्य में कोई बाधा ना आए, कोई उनको तकलीफ ना हो। यस्य इदानि याना अन्यानि कतानि मे ते संच भागिनो हन्तु सत्तानंतपमानका। मुदिता ब्रह्म विहार, इसकी भी बहुत आवश्यकता ताकि मन बैलेंस में रहे। जो भी हम पर्सनली जानते हों अपने मित्रों को और लोगों को जहाँ घर में खुशी है, उसको याद करके उनकी खुशी में शामिल होना। जो लोग बीमार थे और ठीक हो गए हैं, उनकी खुशी में शामिल होना, ताकि मन हमारा प्रफुल्लित रहे, नेगेटिविटी और डिप्रेशन में ना जाए। और शुभकामना करें कि हम सब कि उनकी खुशी बनी रहे, सुख संपत्ति बनी रहे। यथा लब्धा सम्पत्तितो मा विगच्छन्तु। उपेक्षा ब्रह्म विहार। मेत्ता, करुणा, मुदिता तीनों को बैलेंस करने के लिए बहुत आवश्यक कि चित्त की समता बनी रहे। और उसके लिए भगवान का आदेश कि सम्यक दृष्टि हो, ताकि वस्तुओं को जैसा है वैसा जाने, उनके अनित्य स्वभाव को पहचाने, यथाभूत देख पाएँ। तो लोकीय सम्मादिट्ठी के रूप में कर्म सिद्धांत, उसको याद करें। कम्मस्य का कम्म दायादा कम्म योनि कम्म बंधु कम्म पटिसरण यम कम्मं करिष्यन्ति कल्याणं वा पापकं वा तस्य दायादा भविष्यन्ति। और शुभकामना करते हैं हम सभी प्राणी लोकोत्तर सम्मादिट्ठी में विस्थापित हों, उनकी दृष्टि ठीक हो, सारे सत्यों को ठीक से देख पाएँ, दुख के कारण को ठीक से देख पाएँ, क्योंकि तभी सभी प्राणी सुखी होंगे। तो ऐसी शुभकामना के लिए गाथा जो है वो उसका पाठ करते हैं। सर्वे सत्ता सुखी होन्तु सर्वे होन्तु सुखिनो सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा किञ्चित् पापमागमात् मा किञ्चित् शोकमागमात् मा किञ्चित् दुःखमागमात्। भवतु सर्वमङ्गलं रक्षन्तु सर्वदेवता सर्वबुद्धानुभावेन सदा सुखी भवन्तु ते। भवतु सर्वमङ्गलं रक्षन्तु सर्वदेवता सर्वधर्मानुभावेन सदा सुखी भवन्तु मे। भवतु सर्वमङ्गलं रक्षन्तु सर्वदेवता सर्वसङ्घानुभावेन सदा सुखी भवन्तु ते। सम्मा सम्बुद्धो भगवा बुद्ध बुद्धं भगवन्त अभिवादि स्वागतो भगवता धम्मो धम्मं नमस्सामि सुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संघो संघं नमामि